I'm Cath. My channel is Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me for my latest episode of my midweek sewing chat. So this video is a bit of a mix of sewing and knitting, what I've been up to over the last week. And it's really nice to be back on for another week. I wasn't sure if I'd actually be able to film this video this week for a couple of reasons. The first one is I just had a really busy couple of days. I usually try and film this video on a Monday morning, so it gives me plenty of time to edit, ready to pop it up on YouTube on a Wednesday morning. But Monday was yesterday and I had a really busy day filled with not particularly fun things, so I didn't have a chance to film then. And now it's Tuesday afternoon and this morning again was really busy, again filled with not particularly fun things. So I had my lunch today, I've raced around the house, done a few chores just now, and now I thought I'll stop still and film this video. And the second reason why I wasn't sure if I was going to film this week, which probably sounds a little bit silly, is I had a bit of a, not exactly a negative comment, but a comment that kind of knocked my confidence a little bit on social media. So I won't go into detail about the comment or where it popped up or anything like that. But I know that's what happens with social media. Every now and then a comment does come along that just takes the wind out of your sails a little bit, I guess. And I know I've seen other vloggers talk about it too. And I've had comments before, and sometimes if I'm in the best of moods, it doesn't bother me too much and I kind of, let it sort of slide by, water off a duck's back. And then every now and then one does just kind of, just knock my confidence a little bit. Which is a shame really, but it is just one of those things with social media, and I know it happens. And I spoke to my husband about it and he said, don't worry about it. You do this because you enjoy it, and the vast majority of your viewers make such lovely comments and are so supportive. So don't let the odd comment get you down. And he was totally right, because the sewing community online is such a lovely community. And I'm really lucky because it isn't a community where you do get trolls so much and things. So anyway, I'm gonna try not to let any comments knock my confidence. So I thought I'd pop back on, and it always makes me feel good to pop on and share a little bit about sewing, because talking about sewing does make me happy. So anyway, that's a bit of a long intro, but now I'll move on to sharing what I'm wearing today, which is the first thing as ever I usually talk about. So today I've got on a handmade sweatshirt and a handmade skirt. And the sweatshirt is one that I always reach for a lot in winter. I find it's just a really practical one. It's a cropped sweatshirt. I'll stand up it so you can see. And it just goes really well, I find, with skirts or jeans or over dresses too. And I think in this black colour, it's quite a versatile item. And I made the sweatshirt using this pattern here. Just need to get it out of the plastic wallet I've got it in. It is this pattern here, the Nina South Bank sweater pattern, which is a pattern I really like. You can make it as like a dress or a crop version, which is the version I'm wearing now, or a kind of classic hip length style sweatshirt jumper. And it's got this stand-up collar, which is quite nice and cozy, but not tight, as you can see. A slightly dropped shoulder. It's fairly close fitting. It's got little cuffs on the bottom of the sleeves, and if you make the dress you can add a cuff on the bottom band too, but for this version I'm wearing today I've got the cuffs on the sleeves, but I just turned it under at the bottom. And I just find it's a really practical item to wear. And the version I'm wearing today is in this really nice fleece back sweatshirting fabric. I can't actually remember where I got this colourway from, because I bought a few different colourways of this fabric and it's often in stock at different online retailers. It's called Cozy Colours sweatshirting. I've got the black version with these cute little flecks and sort of reds and yellows on it. I've also got some navy and some red of this because it's a fabric I really like, and it's quite nice because it's fleecy, so cozy, but it's not a super heavyweight fleece, so it's not one that you get really overheated in if you layer it up, I find. But I'll have a look online and see if I can find the black colourway in stock anywhere, or whichever online retailer I can find with the biggest range of colours. I will link them down below, because it's really nice fabric, and I've washed this loads and it's sort of retained its quality really nicely. It's washed really well. So that is what I'm wearing on top, and I think I made the size 8 in the South Bank sweater. Let me just double check. I think I actually sized up on this pattern, because the size, so my bust fits the size 6 size, but actually the finished garment measurements for the size 6 show that that's 33 inches, only 1 inch larger than my bust measurement. I thought if I'm going to layer it, I want a little bit more room, so I sized up one size just to give a bit more space in the sweatshirt for layering up and not feeling too snug. So So yeah, that's what I'm wearing on top. Oh, and in terms of sizing, the South Bank sweater is available from UK 6 up to a UK 28. Nina Lee has released the pattern in 2 size bands. There's a 6 to a 20 and a 16 to a 28. So yeah, quite a nice size range on that pattern. And then on the bottom I've got a skirt on, which is one of my favourite skirt patterns. And I won't talk in too much detail about this skirt pattern because I think I talked about it quite a lot recently because I made another version. But it is this pattern here. There's another one I've got in a plastic wallet. I should have got it out before. Is this pattern here. It is the estuary skirt pattern by So Liberated. So it's a woven skirt pattern that you can make in different lengths, and it's got an elasticated waistband at the back and then a flat fronted waistband, so it's quite nice and comfy because you can just pull it on and off with the elastic, and yeah, it's not too kind of restrictive because of the elastic at the back. And you make it with this button down placket at the front, which can be a faux placket because you've got the elastic to get it on and off. And it's quite a swishy full skirt, and you can make it with these patch pockets or with inseam pockets. Both options are included in the pattern, and I think it goes from a 0 to a size 30. It's up to a waist of 48.5 inches. And my version I'm wearing today is a mini skirt version, so I cropped off the pattern to above the knee. I'll stand up a bit so you can see the fabric of the one I'm wearing today. It's a really pretty rayon fabric that I got absolutely ages ago from John Lewis, actually from the John Lewis bricks and mortar store, and I was shopping with my mum, and this fabric was on special, so I think I snapped up maybe 1.5 meters or 2 meters of it then, not knowing what to do with it. And then when I got it home, I thought that would make a really nice skirt, and it works quite well as a winter skirt, I think, because it's got this black base, so it goes quite well with like a black wintry top and a pair of black tights and black boots, which is how I've been wearing it today. And I'll pop a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. And the placket, I've done a faux placket. I've just sewn the buttons through, and I've not done buttonholes. And I quite like that on a rayon fabric, particularly when it can be more at risk, I think, of sort of snagging when you're doing the buttonholes. It's quite nice not to have to worry about that step. So yeah, I really like that skirt pattern. So that's what I'm wearing today. But now I'll move on to what I've been up to on the sewing and knitting front over the last few days. So the first thing I wanted to share in this video is something that I realised I didn't include in last week's midweek sewing chat video that I should have, which is a dress that I finished. And I think I talked about the dress when I was in the process of making it, and shared how I was getting on with it, so you could see sort of the dress partly finished, but I hadn't shared the final dress and final pictures of me actually wearing this dress. And if you're on Instagram, you'll have seen it on there, but I thought, hang on, I really need to share it on here too, because I know that not everyone is on Instagram at all or regularly, so I wanted to make sure I included it in this video. And it's a dress I made using a hack, or by hacking this pattern here, which is the Bowery top pattern by French Navy, which is my latest French Navy pattern I've tried, but it's one of their older patterns, and I do like French Navy patterns. But it's this woven top pattern with this dolman sleeve and with a cuff on and a button down back and this curved hem, and you can add a patch pocket on the front, and it's got quite a simple round neck and generally quite like a loose, oversized, relaxed fit to it that's quite cropped too. So it's a pattern I've been wanting to make for a while. I got this fabric that I really wanted to use for it, and when the fabric arrived I loved it so much I thought it would work really well as a dress, so I decided to have a go of hacking the Bowery top into a dress that I could wear and I hopefully enjoy a lot. But I had only 1.5 meters of fabric, so it was a bit of a squeeze. But I talked about that before, but I've now finished the dress, so I'll show you the final dress, which I'm really pleased with. So here it is, my Bowery top hack. So basically, to hack the pattern, it was really simple. I just cropped the top pattern piece off and straightened it off, so it wasn't a curved hem anymore. And I added on a gathered skirt, and I added in pockets too, so I had just enough fabric to squeeze out pockets, which I was really pleased about. And it was a really fun sew. I love all the details in this pattern, like the bias binding around the neckline and how the placket comes together. And I had fun with the buttons. I only had 4 of these blue buttons, but I found the same size button in pink in my sort of button stash, so I popped that one on the top there, and I think it looks quite sweet. So yeah, I was really pleased I was able to squeeze this out of the fabric with the pattern matching. I was able to get pattern matching down the sides. And I think the only thing I had left to do when I showed you it last was possibly to hem it, so I've hemmed it now. That's one thing I love about check fabric. It's so tricky at the cutting out stage, you have to be really careful with it. But when you get to the actual final stage, I took a couple of inches off the bottom of this dress because it came out a little bit too long, and it's really easy to take it up because you just can obviously work along the check lines, so they're already nice and straight for you, so you don't have to worry about any risk of sort of cutting any amounts off wonkily or anything, because the lines do all the work for you. So yeah, that is my dress, and I'll put a picture up of me wearing it. So this is just wearing it as it is. I'll probably wear it like this in summer, you know, without anything underneath, just a simple dress with some sandals or something like that. But this weekend I actually wore it out in a more wintry mode, and I layered it over a Freya top by tilling the buttons, and I popped it on with some tights, and I also had a chunky cardigan I put over the top, and it worked really well actually for layering in winter too, because it isn't a super tight dress. There's plenty of room for adding a layer underneath. So I thought I'd pop a picture up of how I styled it at the weekend too, so you can see what it looks like there in a more wintry mode too. So I'm really pleased with this dress actually. I like all the little details like the cuff, I like the shape of it and how it is quite a relaxed fit. And I really like to make another one, I think. I quite like the idea of making one maybe in a plain colour for summer, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'd really like to have another go of the Bowery top hack because I'm quite pleased how it turned out. So yeah, thought I'd share that on here because you might not have seen that on Instagram. Yeah, really enjoyable. So I really recommend this pattern. I'll link the pattern down below. Unfortunately, this fabric is sold out, but it was from Simply Fabrics Brixton, and they do have some really nice, often some lovely cotton fabrics. This is a washed cotton, so it's really nice and soft. So I'll link their website down below in case you fancy having a browse there too. So the next thing I wanted to share in this video is another set of pyjamas that I've made for my son. Last week I shared I'd made him a pair of winter pyjamas with long sleeves and like a full length leg in a really cool Where's Wally print, and I mentioned that I was going to make another pair but a more summery version because he wanted a sort of short sleeve and shorts version too. So I finished those ones off this week. So here they are, his shorty pair. So here is the little t-shirt. It's got this really cool Where's Wally space print on in navy blue, which is quite nice actually because there was a black colourway too, but that was out of stock, and he did like the black colourway a lot, and he's got some clothes in that already, but I was quite pleased that the blue was in stock because I do like blue on him. I think it's a nice colour on him. So yeah, that's nice, it worked out well. And it's got a little pocket I added on. So I made this top again using the DIY Club Kids ABBT, which is a free pattern which I'll link down below, and it sews up really nicely. I made him the regular fit, and I think I sized up slightly. I think I might have sized up to age 10 and he's 9, just to make sure it was nice and roomy and relaxed for bedtime. And also because I'm making a shorty version now that he'll probably more likely wear when the weather gets a bit warmer, I wanted there to be a bit of growing room in there too. So that's the top I made, and I also made a pair of shorts to go with it. So here are the shorts version, and I used the same pattern as I did last week for the winter pair for the shorts, which is the Patterns for Pirates Walk the Plank Pyjama Shorts pattern, which is designed for woven fabrics, but like I've mentioned before, I think it works really well in a stretchy fabric too, and it's a simple elasticated waist pyjama bottom that comes together really quickly. And there's an adults version too. It's another free pattern. And for this version actually, because I wanted a bit more room in them, I sized down because I found that I think when I went for the size age 9, his age, there was too much fabric and it was a bit bulky, but I did find he needs the length still of this age 9. So I increased the height of the pyjamas slightly, so there's plenty of room here for the sort of crotch area. And then also what I did in this pair actually is I chose a slightly slimmer elastic than the pattern specifies. I think the pattern specifies maybe 1.5 inches, and I've gone for 1 inch or 1.25 inches or something like that anyway, because it doesn't really matter. I don't think you need a particularly thick piece of elastic, so I just thought that meant that I had borrowed a little less room for the elastic and the finishing at the top, so a little bit more room and the length for him. So hopefully they'll work quite well and still fit him nicely when it comes round to the warmer weather. So yeah, I finished those off, and I wanted to say thank you to a lovely lady on here and also a lovely lady on Instagram who both got in touch with me and mentioned that Pound Fabrics had some Where's Wally fabrics in stock at really good prices. The same fabrics, I'd got these originally from Minerva, but yeah, at sort of a reduced price, and they had quite a good range of the prints still left in stock there now, because at Minerva I think it's all nearly sold out. So I went on the Pound Fabrics website with my son, and he chose a couple of prints to get a bit more of, so I ordered those. They haven't arrived yet, otherwise I would share them with you on here obviously, but hopefully they'll arrive soon so I can show you them. But he was really excited actually because there's a print he hadn't seen before, so yeah, he thought he'd quite like to get that, and I thought, well, he seems to love Where's Wally. I can't imagine him sort of growing out of interest in it anytime soon, and it'll work great for pyjamas for quite a while into the future anyway. So I thought I'll snap up a bit more of that fabric now before it does go out of print and I can't get it anywhere, because it is really hard finding fabrics he likes. So anyway, that was my next make, quite a quick simple one for my son. I'm just really glad he enjoys wearing the pyjamas I make him, so I'm going to enjoy making him things as long as he likes wearing them. So the next make I wanted to share with you is quite a quick make that I whipped up this week for myself, and this is another make that I made using a fabric from my fabric Remnant suitcase. So you'll know recently, if you've watched my previous videos, I've been having a good old look through my fabric Remnant suitcase and trying to reduce it down and actually turn decent sized remnants into wearable clothing. It feels quite thrifty to do that because I'm not buying new fabric and I'm generally using patterns I already have, and it's quite fun figuring out what patterns I can fit onto the piece of fabric. There's sometimes a bit of pattern Tetris involved, which, yeah, it's quite fun actually, because I think when I first started sewing, I often over-ordered fabric a little bit because I was so nervous about not having enough, which meant I ended up with fabric remnants left over. And I think doing this sort of fabric Tetris or pattern Tetris on these fabrics is really giving me the confidence to maybe try ordering a bit less fabric so I don't build up extra stocks or end up with pieces that aren't that usable, which seems a bit wasteful. And I think recently also making that Bowery dress out of the 1.5 metres made me think I really can squeeze things onto smaller amounts of fabric. It just requires some careful thought and it is worth doing. So anyway, I found a fabric remnant which I sewed up, and the fabric remnant was a really pretty one. It's this cotton jersey fabric. It's really lovely floral print, which I think is a bit different because of the colours. It's got almost like a sort of very dark grey base and then these almost watercolour floral prints in sort of pinky colours and whites. And I really like this print, and I was actually gifted this fabric very kindly by Eliza Mac Fabrics, who have an online fabric website. I'll link them down below. And I originally made in this fabric a t-shirt dress for the summer, and I wore that a lot, particularly on holiday. It was the perfect beach cover-up just to pop on over my swimming costume after being in the sea, just to cover me up from the sun and keep me a bit cosier. And I had a look and I found that actually I had just enough of this fabric to squeeze out a jersey t-shirt. So I was really pleased about that because it's such pretty fabric, and I thought the dress is pretty much mainly a kind of something I'd wear on holiday, but it'll be lovely to be able to enjoy this fabric when I'm not on holiday too. So it's kind of like a casual t-shirt that I could pair with jeans or shorts in the summer or something like that. So I had a look at the fabric and I wasn't sure which pattern to use to sew this up. I had two patterns that I was deciding between. Either this pattern here, the Agnes top pattern by Tealing the Buttons. I had enough fabric to make a short sleeve version, not the full length version. It's quite a close fitting jersey top pattern. I thought this fabric might be quite cute as a close fitting sort of floral top to wear with a pair of skinny jeans maybe, or something like that. And the other pattern I had in mind is this one here. Another of my favourites. This is the Solar tee and sweatshirt pattern by Paper Cut Patterns, which has a much more oversized sort of boxy square fit and a dropped shoulder. And you can add this ruffle on the sleeve, but I didn't have enough fabric for the ruffle. If I wanted to make this pattern, I'd have to make just a plain sleeve, short sleeve version, like just a classic t-shirt. So I had a look at the fabric and I found that I had just enough fabric to squeeze out a Solar tee, which needs more fabric than the Agnes top because it's much sort of bigger t-shirt, I guess. It's just designed to be oversized. So I thought it was meant to be that I make the Solar tee and make an oversized t-shirt because then I could use up much of the fabric as I had as possible, rather than being still left with more scraps if I made the Agnes tee. So I kind of let the size of the fabric decide. So here is my Solar tee in this fabric. It's sewed up really nicely. I do find the Solar tee sews up nicely. It's quite a simple, quick sew. And yeah, I just think it'll be a really nice, relaxed t-shirt to wear with a pair of jeans or shorts in summer. I think the print's really pretty. So I haven't actually got a picture of me wearing this yet. So after this video finishes, I think I've got just enough time before I head down the school run to go and try and get a snap of myself wearing this with a pair of jeans on, so you can see what it looks like and where it comes to and that sort of thing. In terms of sizing, I made the size extra small on the pattern I have, but I've got the old pattern. There's now a bigger size range, and I think the size I make is the second smallest size now because I think they've added one size smaller. And I think it does come up quite oversized on me, but I quite like that. It's quite a relaxed fit, and I think I can't remember actually in terms of how it fits my measurements. Let me have a look if I can see if I can find the measurements. Yeah, so the size I make is pretty much bang on my size, the bust, and it's designed for slightly smaller waist and hips than I have, but I've never needed to grade out because there's plenty of room because it's designed to be fairly boxy shape. So I'd say with this pattern the best thing is to go on your bust measurement, and if there's not too much variation between your bust and then the hip measurement and waist measurement in terms of sizing, you probably don't need to grade out too much because there is quite a lot of room in the pattern, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I'm quite pleased. I'm going to just about squeeze out this t-shirt out of the Remnant because it's such a pretty fabric. It seems a shame not to be able to use all of it. So yeah, that is my make for me this week. So I've got one more thing to share before I move on to talking about my knitting projects. And this item is not really a sewing item, it's more just of a general crafty item. But I like to include in these videos anything I've been up to on the crafty front, so I thought I'd be doing this week, so I'll share it with you. And it is something for my son in relation to the Football World Cup, which is happening at the moment. And my son over the last couple of years has got really interested in football. He follows the UK leagues with my husband, and he's been really looking forward to the World Cup. Really looking forward to watching the games, and he mentioned the other day he'd really like to have his own football shirt to wear when he's watching the games. So we had to look online, and you can buy official England football shirts, but they're really quite expensive, and also I think they're made out of sports fabrics, which isn't my son's favourite to wear. He's not really a fan of those kind of moisture wicking sort of silky fabrics. He much prefers a cotton t-shirt. So we had a look online and found out you could get just England cotton t-shirts at Asda, and they were quite a good price, and my son really liked the look of them. So we got 2 of those, went to pick them up actually just yesterday, and they're really nicer quality actually, just nice cotton t-shirts, so perfect for him to wear. And what he really wanted was to have them embellished on the back with the names and numbers of his favourite players. So he wanted to, because he wanted his favourite player, or kind of favourite forward player, and also favourite goalie on the other one. So yeah, we did that yesterday. I ordered some stick-on or sort of iron-on letters and numbers from Amazon, which are really, really easy to use. So that was what I was doing last night. He was kind of hovering, watching, making sure I, put them all nice and neatly on his shirt and exactly where I wanted. So I did this one here, which is his favourite goalie's name and obviously the goalie number 1. And then also this one here, which is his favourite player, one of the strikers, names and numbers too. So I was really pleased to be able to do those for him. I felt like a proper football mum. It's the first time I've had to put a name and a number on the back of a football shirt, but he's really looking forward to wearing them. England had their first match yesterday, but he was at school for that match, so he wouldn't be able to wear these t-shirts then. But they've got 2 more matches in their group coming up over the next few days, so he'll be wearing one of these for each match, I think. And because they're nice cotton shirts, I can see him wearing them for quite a while to come when it gets to the summer, or just with a pair of joggers anyway. So I was quite pleased to do that little crafty task. It was nice to be able to get those ready for him, and yeah, he's really happy, so I'm happy too. So now I'll move on to my knitting projects, and the first knitting project that I wanted to share is that I finished the little knitted romper that I was working on for my daughter's baby dolls. So I thought I'd share that. I made it using this pattern here, which is the Serdar double knitting pattern 3072. It's a doll's clothes knitting pattern. And I think I mentioned in my last video that I'd realised there was some crochet involved, so I had to get on my crochet hook, remind myself how to do some crochet. I had a few issues with what double crochet is in the UK versus US. If you want to hear more about that, I'll link my last video where I talk a bit about how I kind of got confused with the UK and the US terms, but it all turned out okay, and I finished the jump little romper, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And my daughter has got her favourite baby dress in it now, so it must be a success, so I'll show you that. So here is the little knitted romper that I made. Yeah, I'm just really happy with how it turned out. You can see the crochet down the front and around the neck, which all looks okay, I think. The rest is all knitted, and I was quite pleased because I thought I might have to go out and get some buttons, but I had a look in my button stash and I found I had actually just 4 of these buttons, these little pink kind of buttons. They're kind of, I don't know what I've used them for before, some other dolls or children's clothing, I think. But they just work perfectly for this outfit, so I was really pleased I had those in stock and I could get it finished and ready for my daughter rather than having to wait until I went somewhere that had this style of buttons. But yeah, so there it is. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it was, yeah, a lot of fun to knit. Even the crochet turned out to be quite a lot of fun. So there are now 2 versions available. You can see each of the babies is wearing one. This baby's a bit smaller, so I had to roll up the sleeves and roll up the cuffs a little bit on this one. But yeah, This one obviously you can see is a bit more bobbly with use as well, so this one probably won't look this neat in a few months' time, but that doesn't matter because I'm just glad my daughter's happy with it and it's going to get some play with. So yeah, that was a little fun knitting pattern. I'll link the pattern down below. I'd definitely like to make some more dolls clothes. I think I will definitely make a few more at some point in the future. Maybe I'll try and knit a couple before Christmas. That might be, I don't know, we'll see how I get on. But yeah, anyway, all done. Yeah, I'm happy. And the other knitting related item I wanted to mention in this video is to talk about a new pattern I've purchased for a new knitting project that I'm quite looking forward to. I asked a few videos ago for ideas for using up leftover sort of half balls of double knit yarn, because I've got quite a few of them now after knitting lots of smaller things like dolls clothes and other smaller projects, and I was quite keen to sort of use up my scraps before I purchase too much more yarn, a bit like with my fabric remnant suitcase I'm going through. And so loads of people had loads of really cool ideas, so thank you very much to everyone who suggested different things to use up those balls of yarn. I've got a whole list of projects that I think I'm going to try and work my way through some of them. And the first thing I'm starting with is to make a blanket using scraps, because I know I've seen lots of really lovely crochet blankets out there that were made using those, I think you call them granny squares, and you kind of piece them together. And I hadn't thought about how you could do that with knitting too, and put together a sort of knitted patchwork blanket. And a couple of people mentioned that, and I thought it was a really great idea and quite a lot of fun too. So I went online and found a pattern that I got from Etsy, and I'll put a picture up of the pattern so you can see what it looks like, and I'll link the pattern down below because I think you can still buy it. It's kind of like a digital download one. But you basically make this blanket by piecing together lots of individual squares of knitting that you make using double knit, and there's lots of different cool patterns, so it ends up having quite a lot of texture, the blanket. So I think it'll be quite a lot of fun to try a few different stitches, and there's like a star stitch, a moss stitch, a laburnum stitch, so yeah, some things, yeah, a few of them that I haven't come across before. And I think that'll make it really interesting because it's not like knitting the same thing over and over again. I'll be trying lots of different stitches, so I'll learn something as I go. So I'm really looking forward to giving that a go. I haven't really got started on that. I've started to gather a few balls of wool together and think about what kind of colours I want to go for, whether I just go totally sort of multicolour. But I will share more about how I get on with that in future videos, because I think it's going to be a bit of a longer project. But it's quite a nice one just to be able to pick up and work on one square on an evening and see how I get on and see how it kind of comes together. So thank you so much for your suggestions. I'm really looking forward to working through some of them and using up some of my yarn, and sort of I've got a little pile of it here in the corner which could do with a bit of clearing, so that should be a lot of fun. So that is everything I've got to share in today's video, so thank you very much for joining me for another week of my midweek sewing chat. I'm hoping to be back on Saturday with another video, so hopefully see you then too. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, then please do give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, and I always say this, please do subscribe and press the bell icon, then you'll be notified of my future videos when they come out. And yeah, thanks again for watching, so hopefully see you again soon. Bye!